Am I the a-hole for telling my son that if he doesn't want to work, he doesn't get the benefits of my labor? My son, 21 male, dropped out of college at the end of his last semester in December. His grades had been failing for almost a year and a half, so it was pretty much either drop out or get kicked out. My wife and I had paid for his first 2 years completely and given him extra spending money each month so that he could concentrate on school instead of having to work. We also made him sign up with a school counselor and got him a therapist about 18 months ago because we were worried his mental health could be a contributing factor. We later found out that he had been skipping counseling and therapy sessions and skipping a lot of classes. We had a conversation about it with him, and he went on a rant about how he doesn't want to spend 40 to 50 years of his life toiling away at some job he doesn't like in order to make some boss more money. He said that work is just a social construct designed to keep the masses down, and that humans aren't designed to sit in a cubicle for 40 hours a week then die. When my son told my wife and I that he dropped out, my wife immediately allowed him to come back home. That was about 3 months ago. Since then, all he does is sit on his computer. He's maybe left the house a dozen times. He refuses to get a job and tells us that his plan is to live the van life. I worked a union blue-collar job for years to support my family, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let my son crap all over my hard work. A couple weeks ago, I got home from work exhausted and he made a remark about me breaking my back for the man. I told him that my job gave him the opportunity to go to college, and he chose to squander it. It turned into a fight where I let out a lot of frustration on him. I told him he either gets a job or he no longer gets to take advantage of my hard work since he seems to think so little of it. I told him I would remove him from our family phone plan, cancel our internet, no longer let him eat our food, and give him a tent so that he can sleep in the backyard. He yelled at me that I'm being an a-hole, and that those are basic human necessities, and I can't deprive him of those. I told him that if he needs those things, then he can freaking work for them like the rest of us, or go find a van and get out. He hasn't spoken to me since, but my wife says I was too hard on him and that this transition has obviously been difficult for him. I told her I am tired of coddling him, and I will not allow him to blatantly disrespect me in my own house, while also taking advantage of all the things I have worked hard to give him. Now, my wife is upset with me too, because she thinks I'm being unreasonable to expect our son to at least do something with his life to contribute if he is going to stay with us. At this point, I don't care if he lives in the backyard and makes a little garden back there to grow his own food. At least that would show some initiative on his part. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. He needs to grow up. Some folks, growing up happens easy. Some folks, it happens hard. Ideals are fantastic, but you can't eat them. Not stay home. Well, these basic human necessities don't look like a social construct now, do they? It's one thing to screw over an awful employer or a biased legal system, or to just freaking hate the necessity of what the economics of specialization have driven us to. It's a whole other thing to screw over your parents. Not stay home. If he wants to embrace the van life, he needs to leave and find a van life. Otherwise, he is as bad as a boss profiteering off someone else's labor. His ideals aren't wrong, but his actions and expectations are. You have worked hard to afford him these privileges, and so are entitled to withdraw them if you feel he isn't earning them. He has reached adulthood, and by your account, you've given him all. He also needs to know most van lifers work. Some of them work a lot. But they put stuff on YouTube and have 1 million subscribers. That's so easy. I can do that. Lol, one of my favorite van lifers YouTube. It have been super upfront in what it's taken to get to where they are. Just years and years of work. And they kept their jobs for a very long time when they started out. Not stay home. I have a couple comments here. Your wife is his enabler. He feels comfortable being so free from the man because he knows he has a safety net. Secondly, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can give him all the tools, counseling, and opportunities to go to college, but if he doesn't want to, he won't do well. Finally, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. Perhaps the best thing you can do is kick him out so that he doesn't have the luxury to be so idealistic. Maybe he will get a taste of independence and the reward of doing things for himself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for thinking my daughter shouldn't pay rent? I have been a stay-at-home mom my whole marriage. My husband pays the bills. I keep house and raise my little ones. I also do things like money management and our taxes because I have an accounting degree. My oldest daughter calls me because she just recently moved in with her fiancé, and he told her she has to pay half of rent and utilities. He makes a lot more than her because she's working part-time, so she has time to plan her dream wedding. Both his parents work, and I know his mom makes more than his dad. My daughter is Sarah, 24, and I was thrown back when she realized she had to split all of the bills in the marriage and pay for things like her wedding dress. It's put a damper on our wedding planning. I tried talking to her fiancé, Luke, 32, saying his family situation was unique since his mom was making more. He rebuffed me, saying it's unrealistic to think he would work, and Sarah could just spend all of her free time wedding planning. He said she has a degree, and she should get a full-time job. Sarah and him both went to school for accounting, and that's how he met her, was at her internship. He works about 60 hours a week. And I explained that with wedding planning, asking her to work that much is way too much on a girl her age. His mother is feeding him the new wave feminism, and I don't think it's a good life balance for this young couple. His mom is feeding my daughter that in this world, you have to work hard and have tough love for your kids. Sarah called crying because her mother-in-law yelled at her for being a gold digger, and Sarah has moved back in with her best friend. My daughter is saying I gave her bad advice and now Luke wants to call off the wedding and wants his ring back. She's blaming it on me, but I think Luke shouldn't have asked my daughter to pay half of his bills on top of wedding planning. You're the a-hole as you gave terrible advice. Your wedding is not a valid excuse to not work, and plenty of people her age work those sort of hours. I'm not surprised that he called off the wedding, as no one in their right mind would want to deal with someone who acts so entitled. Exactly. The way Opie said his mom is feeding him the new wave of feminism literally says a lot about Opie. Her idea is the one that isn't a good balance for any couple. And Opie, yes, in this world you gotta work to earn money in order to live. You can't just mooch off another. There is no more blue is for boys and pink is for girls. Your daughter is capable enough to get a job and support herself. And if she continues to listen to your terrible advice, she'll probably end up alone. And if your daughter can't handle a job and wedding planning at the age of 25, she ain't ready for having kids or getting married either. You're the a-hole. Too much for a girl her age? What are you implying? She's too young to take on the responsibilities? If that's the case, then she shouldn't be getting married in the first place. That line cracked me up. She's 24, not 14. And shocking though it may be to OP, plenty of women work full-time and plan weddings at the same time. It's put a damper on our wedding planning. May have been a slip of the tongue, but it said everything. This isn't your wedding. This isn't your marriage. Their family dynamics are not yours. You're asking them to go by your lifestyle, not develop their own. If your daughter is living with Luke, it's not solely Luke's rent. Let's go ready. You're the a-hole. She needs to work full-time. I genuinely can't comprehend having the mindset that I need to work part-time so I can plan this party. What? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for sitting back and doing nothing when mom told my wife that she'd take us to court for grandparents' right? This situation is a bit of a mess. I'll just mention the relevant conflict at hand. So, my wife Liz and I have been married for 7 years. We have preschool-aged kids, and because we currently live in the same city as my parents, mom would take the kids while my wife and I work. Liz is the one with a much larger income, and she got an even better job opportunity that is requiring us to move to another city. I agreed, since I could easily find a job in my field in the city we're moving to. But after my family heard we were selling the house to move, hell broke loose. Sunday, Mom and Liz got into a huge fight because Liz told Mom we'll move away and hire a babysitter for the kids so she's no longer needed. Mom said she doesn't want her grandkids moving away. Even said we should let the kids live at her house while we move. Liz laughed at her and Mom lost it, basically saying that Liz was an ungrateful witch and that her grandkids moving will only happen over her dead body. They began exchanging harsher words, and Liz snapped and told Mom to butt out of private matters that don't concern her, and said that she had no right to decide things regarding the kids. Mom firmly told her she was dead wrong and proceeded to tell her that she, as an involved grandmother, knows her rights and she will be taking Liz and me to court to ensure she still gets to see her grandkids. Liz was in shock. She looked to the left and saw me sitting there not saying or doing anything. She told me to check my mom, but I told her she was being unfair to Mom and that Mom had to feel upset because she will no longer be able to see her grandchildren. I honestly told Liz that she was a bit selfish to not consider my mom's feelings and her crucial presence in kids' life first. Liz started arguing with me, saying she couldn't believe I didn't stand behind her and defend her after hearing Mom saying she'd get the court involved. I said Mom was upset and cannot be blamed for her reaction. Liz started yelling at me, calling me unsupportive and an enabler, then went home with the kids, insisting my family is my problem and I should handle it. Although this whole moving thing was her idea. Situation hasn't been resolved and Liz and Mom are getting more intense in their fights. I choose to stay out of it because both have valid arguments. But Liz has called me awful for not siding with her after seeing how Mom spoke to her and being okay with the fact that Mom was willing to cause us issues in court. Am I the a-hole? I get that Liz wants my support, but I feel like Mom has been punished through no fault of her own after being a loving grandmother to my kids. Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Your mom threatened to take your family to court so she can get custody of the kids, and she wants them to live with her. That is a disproportionate reaction to being told that someone is moving. Are you okay with moving to a new city? Sounds like you are. Why would you ever let anyone threaten your wife with court for doing something incredibly beneficial for your family? Why would you let someone threaten you instead of offering to get on a plane to see you? You're the a-hole. Your mom is threatening your family, and she could very well actually gain custody of the kids depending on how much and how long she takes care of them for. OMG, you're the a-hole OP. Your wife and children should be your first priority always, not your mother's feelings over moving. Insisting my family is my problem but I should handle it, although this whole moving thing was her idea. It may have been her idea, but you agreed to it. If you had an issue with moving, you should have had that conversation with your wife. Agreeing with it to your wife's face and then letting your mom do the dirty work of fighting her about it is cowardly and passive-aggressive. The fact that you are continuing to sit there like a bump on a log while your relatives harass your wife is failing hardcore as a spouse. Get your mother out of your marriage or you won't have a marriage. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You married and had kids with Liz, not your mother. Are you really okay with your mom threatening to take your children? No, I'm not. But I do get that she was upset and probably didn't mean what she said in the moment of rage. But I told Liz that it's better that we solve this peacefully and try to get on my mom's good side by maybe reaching a compromise, though Mom is completely against moving away. Why does your wife need to compromise when your mom is the one that escalated the threatening to sue you? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling out my husband's favoritism? My husband Tom, 37 male, and I, 33 female, have been married for 7 years, and we have 2 kids. Sammy 3, Nora 5. He was married before me, and had a son, Teddy, who passed on from chronic illness at 4. So far, our family has been pretty stable, meaning no fights or disagreements. Though I have complaints about some things Tom does. This might sound insensitive, but it treats Teddy different than our kids. Like he has a ton of framed pictures of Teddy on his office wall and desk, but none for our kids. He also has pillows and blankets with Teddy's name on them while not doing the same for Sammy and Nora. His argument was that this is his only way of showing love and remembering Teddy since he can't see or touch him. While Sammy and Nora are here and he shows them affection in a physical form like doing bonding activities and such. We kind of moved on from this issue until I accidentally came across a whole journal he has that was dedicated to Teddy. I'd read some of what was written, and it had details of some moments in Teddy's life. I felt sad for 2 reasons. 1, because of how much heartache Tom had experienced, and 2, the fact that he never thought of writing about his special moments with Sammy and Nora. I gently brought it up to him, and he got upset and tried to say the same thing about how he adores all 3 children, but in different ways. I said it still hurts because while Sammy and Nora are still young, what if they come across something like that when they're older? I realized that Dad didn't love them as much as his eldest kid. I said this reek of favoritism. But he said we weren't even having this conversation, nor should I have called him out on his alleged favoritism after I disrespected his privacy and read his private thoughts. I argued that it is what it is, and he should start considering including the kids now and not wait till they're, God forbid, gone to show them love. He said I should be ashamed of myself for implying he doesn't love his young children and for making him guilty only because he suffered a tragedy and was finally at peace with it. I said I was sorry he felt this way, but he told me to stop talking and leave the room. I walked out and he started crying. The kids then entered the room and started comforting him. So far, we haven't been on good terms. I keep trying to stay calm and collected, but he's being cold towards me, making me feel like I'm at fault here. I want to know if I am the a-hole. You're the a-hole. What is wrong with you? Calm down. The guy lost one of his kids. That child is literally not here anymore. Pictures and a journal is his way of coping with sadness. It does not mean he loves your kids less or favors Teddy over them. Teddy is dead. Take a step back and just stop being so self-centered. Unless he ignores his other two children completely, you are so out of line and instead of being supportive, you are being a nay. So I agree that Opie is the a-hole, but I do wonder what his other two kids are gonna think when all they see is Teddy and not them in Daddy's life. That doesn't excuse Opie in any way at all. I just want the poor guy to make sure that he's dealing with everything in a safe and healthy way. My heart breaks for him. You're the a-hole and huge. My God, how can you not understand and let the man grieve and process this grief in any way, shape, or form he needs to? Teddy's gone. You don't have to make some sort of fake competition for receiving love from your husband. Read a book about losing a child or something so that you can help the man instead of making his trauma worse. Unfortunately, yes, it may be worth updating knowledge on grievance and jealousy OP. Also, it's likely OP is now pushing the husband away. Why would he want to be with a woman that can't properly respect his privacy and past? I would apologize, buy him something to say sorry, and change how you are acting.